Alright, now that the paint is dry, we can go ahead and start fletching this arrow. The first thing that we're going to need to do is figure out the grain orientation on this arrow shaft. This is the most important part of fletching an arrow. Now if you can see, the grain is running flat, so that the way our nock is aligned, when this is against the bow, the layers are running like this. Now the arrow is strongest when you're dealing from side to side and weakest from top to bottom. This is why when we align our nock, we want this flat edge coming against the side of the bow. That's where it's going to be under this, force of being bent. That's where it needs to resist the most. That's where its strength is. Now, this other side, up and down, it's very important to make sure that the grain runoff, if there is any grain runoff on your arrow, is going in such a way where it won't hurt you or your bow, but mainly it won't hurt you if the arrow does ever break. So you want to look at this and you want to see where the grain runoff is. So you can see on this side the grain or the feathering is pointing that way. So that means that when you fire this arrow, they lay down flat over your hand. If this arrow breaks, it's going to break up, not down into your hand. If you were to shoot it the other way, and you have these feathers are now pointing down into your hand. So if this ever broke, it could drive a splinter through your hand. That's not a good thing. So we want to make sure that our odd feather, the feather that sticks out, goes on this side, so that this portion here is resting against our hand. Now if you were left-handed, you would want it to do it the other way. You'd want to put your odd feather on this side, because you want the feathering to go like this. You don't want it to go into your hand. So now that we've got that, you want to set up your arrow accordingly. Alright, so I'm going to use my Jojan monofletcher. Take one of our spliced feathers, place it in the jig, and then you want to do a little extra right here. You want to actually line it up and do a dry run. Figure out if the splice matches up to the white line. It doesn't right now, so I'm going to move it. Try it again. Almost. Alright, so I've gone ahead and it matches up now. So now that that's all ready to go, take my fletching tape off, or the backing off, put a little bit of super glue on the front and back. And you can also put a little bit of glue right where the splice is. It's not entirely necessary, but I usually do that. So you want to make sure that it lines up. Press it down. Just give it a little bit. Alright, so here it is. Take that off. Just make sure it's pressed down. And there we go. So now you can see how it goes, that white line and then white fletching. I'm going to go ahead, finish this off, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, so here's the arrow all fletched. So it's important when you do this to make sure that everything lines up. It'll look sloppy if these feathers aren't equal. So here it is. Now I'm just going to go put some epoxy on the front and rear of my fletchings just to help keep them in place, and also so that there's a smooth transition here. This doesn't catch on your bow or your hand. So I'm going to go ahead, do that, and once it's all dry and ready to go, we'll be able to shoot these. Now that the fletching is done, I've gone ahead and put a little bit of epoxy on the front of the feathers just to give them a nice smooth transition. I also went ahead and shortened the arrows to their final length and put points on them. So here are the finished arrows. Now all that's left to do is to go ahead and see how they shoot. So that's it. Now all that we have to do now is shoot it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.